Good afternoon, enthusiasts, and 2021 is coming to a close. At this time of year, I like to look back at all my credits and rank them all from worst to best. Last year, I was stuck at 23 credits, but this year, I'm at 58 credits, which, I made some pretty decent progress this year. So, that means I'm going to rank all 58, right? Well, no. I'm going to do a top 40. Why? Well, because the coasters 58 to 41 aren't really that exciting or impressive or important really, so I'm gonna skip them for now and just focus on my top 40. So go ahead, grab a snack and some Pepsi Orange, kick back, relax, and enjoy today's video. Okay, let's waste no time and just get right into it. Number 40, Outlaw at Adventureland. My memory of this roller coaster is very jaded. I remember this coaster having some decent airtime, but that's pretty much it. This roller coaster for me was very forgettable, so that's why it's at 40. Also, I have no idea why this roller coaster was ahead of Cyclops last year in my credit ranking. What was I thinking? Number 39, Failud coaster at Nickelodeon Universe. This is a Gerstlauer spinning coaster, and well, it is what it is. It's not bad by any means, it's actually pretty fun. It's just that there's a few potholes here and there unfortunately, but hey, it's still a great family ride. 38, Spinning Dragons at Worlds of Fun. This is literally the same thing as Failud coaster, but it is smoother, so that makes it better. 37 is Corkscrew at Cedar Point. I can respect this roller coaster for its history, but I'm not exactly a huge fan of this ride. This roller coaster does have a good airtime moment and a forceful loop, but those corkscrews, man, they will give you a headache. This roller coaster does look really nice, so I'll give it that. Number 36, La Vibora at Six Flags Over Texas. People either hate this thing or can tolerate it. I can definitely tolerate it. Sure, it does have some rough patches here and there, but it's a very unique experience. It's a bobsled coaster, and these things aren't exactly common. It's basically a water slide, but there's no water and you're in a coaster car with very minimalistic restraints. Number 35, Avatar Airbender at Nickelodeon Universe. It has been quite a few years since my last ride on this roller coaster, because every time I go, this roller coaster is always closed. But from my memory, it was a very fun ride. You basically spin around and go in a U-shape, which that's, pretty much all you do. Number 34, Runaway Mountain at Six Flags Over Texas. If you want a break from the hot Texas heat, this roller coaster is perfect for that. This is an indoor roller coaster, so you basically are in pitch darkness and you navigate through a series of sharp turns, and the last helix is actually pretty forceful. This roller coaster is also kind of unique because it is the only roller coaster made by Premier Rides to not have a launch. 33, Blue Streak at Cedar Point. Just like Corkscrew, I can respect this roller coaster for its history, but I don't really care about this roller coaster that much. Compared to all the other roller coasters at Cedar Point, this one falls a little flat. It runs pretty good for its age, and it packs solid airtime. It's just that it wasn't anything mind-blowing. Number 32, Corkscrew at Valley Fair. So what makes this corkscrew better than Cedar Point's corkscrew? Well, it is a lot smoother, so in my opinion, that makes it better. Yeah, the Cedar Point corkscrew is more intense, but I personally prefer the more enjoyable experience of the Valley Fair corkscrew. This one is still a little bit outdated though, and it's kind of sad to see that this is the only roller coaster at Valley Fair with inversions. 31 is Timberwolf at Worlds of Fun. I'm not the biggest fan of this ride. Yeah, sure, it has some really good airtime. It's just that this roller coaster was just too bumpy and rough for my liking. GCI did retrack portions of it, which was nice, but I really wish Worlds of Fun would retrack the entire thing. If this coaster was fully retracked, I think it'll be much higher on my list. Number 30, Rock Bottom Plunge at Nickelodeon Universe. This roller coaster has recently been getting a little bit of hate from roller coaster enthusiasts, and I really don't see why. Yes, this roller coaster is not that smooth, and it's pretty short, but it has a few tricks up its sleeve. I think the inversions are great, the first drop actually has some airtime, and there's also a surprise airtime moment after the loop. Overall, it's a solid ride in my opinion, and I like it. Number 29, High Roller at Valley Fair. This roller coaster actually packs some really good airtime here and there, and for its age, this roller coaster is actually pretty smooth. It had some retracking this past year, so that helped even more, but overall, High Roller is a fun ride that everyone can enjoy. Number 28 is Silver Bullet at Frontier City. Despite having the world's slowest chain lift, I actually like this ride. The first drop gave me some surprise lateral forces, and the vertical loop had some good G-force. There was also a good airtime moment, but other than that, this roller coaster is basically a bunch of turns that fail to impress me. Except the last turn. That one was actually pretty fun. Number 27, Diamondback at Frontier City. This roller coaster actually really impressed me with its forwards and backwards ejector airtime paired with a forceful loop. This roller coaster was awesome, albeit a little bit too short, and it does take a while for the roller coaster to go backwards after going forwards, but overall, it's a pretty good ride. Number 26, Cyclops at Mount Olympus. This roller coaster has two really good ejector airtime moments. The first drop is pretty good in the back row, but the best one in my opinion is the drop off the hill. If you're in the back row, you will get ejected. Yeah, I do wish this roller coaster was longer, but as it stands, I think this roller coaster is amazing. Number 25, Gemini at Cedar Point. This roller coaster was surprisingly smooth, especially considering that this is an aero coaster from the 1970s. The airtime on this roller coaster is surprisingly good. There was plenty of floater airtime moments that I loved. I also love the racing aspect of this ride. It just puts a big smile on my face. Number 24, Zeus at Mount Olympus. This is my personal favorite roller coaster made by CCI. This roller coaster is an out and back, and it features loads of airtime on the way there and the way back. I had a blast on this roller coaster, and I thought it was pretty smooth as well. 23, we have Excalibur at Valley Fair. Now, I'm a huge fan of Excalibur. Despite having trim brakes, the first drop actually has some airtime, and Excalibur features a low to the ground helix that pulls plenty of G-force, and it also has an ejector airtime hill and a floater airtime hill. Some people don't like Excalibur because of the roughness, but I personally do not find Excalibur to be that rough. I don't know why, maybe I'm just used to it, but I will say this roller coaster is laughably short. That isn't a huge deal, but when a roller coaster is good, you want it to go on longer. Number 22, Wicked Twister at Cedar Point. I love intimate impulse coasters, so that means I liked Wicked Twister quite a bit. Wicked Twister is one of the weaker intimate impulse coasters, at least in terms of forces, but that backwards twisted spike is so fun to do in the back row. I suppose I should be talking about this roller coaster in the past tense because this roller coaster was unfortunately scrapped this past year. We miss you, Wicked Twister. Number 21, Steel Venom at Valley Fair. From one impulse to another, Steel Venom is, in my opinion, the best intimate impulse coaster in North America. It was more forceful than Wicked Twister, and this one is the only impulse left to still use the hold brake, and the hold brake is awesome. Overall, Steel Venom is a ride that I cannot get sick of. Alright, so far we have not seen any B&M on this list. Well, here's 5 of them for you. Number 20, Patriot at Worlds of Fun. Yeah, this may be the weakest B&M invert, but that does not mean that this ride is bad at all. Patriot is buttery smooth, I love the inversions, and this roller coaster sports a great color scheme. The only thing it's lacking though is intensity. Number 19 is Valravn at Cedar Point. When I first rode this roller coaster, I liked it quite a bit, but after a few more rides, my opinion shifted a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I love the vertical drop, the inversions are nice and big and give some actually decent hang time. It's just that this roller coaster felt a little too short, and that mid-course brake run was a huge buzzkill. But even with that, I still like this ride. 18 is Gatekeeper at Cedar Point. I prefer this ride to Valravn simply because it's a wing coaster. Having no track above or below you is a pretty good feeling. It kinda feels like you're flying. The first drop is awesome, and it has pretty good inversions, especially the ones that are near miss elements. Those are pretty cool. And this coaster's location is great, right next to the beach, and it goes by the front gate. Number 17, Ruguru at Cedar Point. Guys, I think Ruguru gets too much hate, and this roller coaster is actually underrated. Even though this roller coaster does not feature a ZOG roll, the inversions are still great. Like for example, the vertical loop is nice and tall, the dive loop is actually fairly intense, and the incline loop is a very unique element that I actually really enjoyed. The corkscrew isn't that good, but it's still passable in my opinion. What really surprised me was this roller coaster actually has a few quick transitions. People say this roller coaster is rough, but in my experience, this roller coaster was not that rough, it was just fine. Number 16, Batman the Ride at Six Flags Over Texas. As of right now, this was my first and only Batman clone I've been on, and I'm a huge fan of these rides. Batman is intense from start to finish. All the inversions pull great forces, and they're very whippy. I only rode this coaster once, but I really wish I would have gotten a few more rides in. Number 15 is Mamba at Worlds of Fun. Yes, this is my least favorite hyper coaster, but Mamba actually has a really good first half. The first drop and the first camelback give great airtime, and the helix is surprisingly forceful for a Morgan hyper, but what kills this roller coaster is the second half. The mid-course brake run trims unbelievably hard, so there is no airtime on the way back to the station. Still though, that first half was good enough to put this at 15 for me. Number 14, Wild Thing at Valley Fair. This roller coaster is very similar to Mamba, but I like it a little more. Why? Well, I've had more rides on Wild Thing, so I've seen what this roller coaster is capable of. The mid-course does trim super hard most of the time, but if you're lucky, the trims won't be that hard and you'll get some pretty decent airtime on the way back to the station. The first drop and the hill after that give great floater airtime, but this roller coaster's helix section is definitely not as good as Mamba's. 13 is Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast at Six Flags Over Texas. This roller coaster is just flat out epic. The first launch is amazing, the inverted top hat is also amazing, and that vertical spike scared the crap out of me. And let's not forget the overbank turn. Plus, this roller coaster pulls some really good forces. Overall, this will be one of my all-time favorite launch coasters. Number 12, Titan at Six Flags Over Texas. This roller coaster gets a lot of hate from roller coaster enthusiasts, and I can partially see why. The first drop doesn't really give that much airtime, and the mid-course brake run does really suck. But this roller coaster pulls a lot of G-force, especially on the upward helix. I grayed out on this helix, it was that intense. And the twister section after the mid-course brake run also pulls pretty good forces. And there's also some floater airtime on that speed hill, and obviously this roller coaster is a great showcase of speed. Number 11, Monster at Adventureland. I really wanted to put this roller coaster in my top 10 because honestly it deserves it. This roller coaster is one of the best Gerstlauers in North America, hands down. The drop is a gut punch. All the inversions have some insane hang time, the airtime hills have airtime, and you're doing all of this with just a lap bar. This roller coaster is flat out awesome. Number 10, Raptor at Cedar Point. This amazing Venom invert makes the top 10. Raptor has all the intensity of a Batman clone, but it's taller, faster, and longer, and plus the elements, in my opinion, are better. I love everything about Raptor, all the way down to the color scheme. Number 9, Shockwave at Six Flags Over Texas. This roller coaster was the biggest surprise when I rode this past summer. On the outside, it might not look like much, but once you ride it, you will understand how good this roller coaster is. The two loops are super forceful, you will gray out, and all the dips have some insane ejector airtime in the back row. Shockwave is my second favorite roller coaster at Six Flags Over Texas. Number 8, Prowler at Worlds of Fun. I love GCI, so naturally, I loved Prowler. Prowler combines great airtime with quick transitions into the woods. Yes, this roller coaster is rough, and it does let up a little bit towards the end, but it is still a great ride, and I would do anything for a night ride on this roller coaster. Number 7, Magnum XL 200 at Cedar Point. I'm not gonna lie, the first time I rode this roller coaster, I was not a huge fan of it, but after a few more re-rides, this roller coaster slowly but surely crept into my top 10. Yes, Magnum XL 200 is really janky, but it makes up for it with having some great airtime, like floater airtime, and those bunny hills have some lethal ejector airtime. They're so sharp, and they have the potential to send you into space. Number 6, New Texas Giant at Six Flags Over Texas. This roller coaster was my introduction to the world of RMC, and it did not disappoint. This was the first RMC, so there's no inversions, but I don't really care. What I do care about is just how much airtime this roller coaster had. There was airtime from the first drop all the way to the last hill. I really enjoyed New Texas Giant. Number 5, Millennium Force at Cedar Point. As of right now, this is the only Giga coaster I've been on, and even though this might not be the best Giga, you have to admit this is one iconic roller coaster, and it is still awesome. It's really tall with a great drop, it's very fast with some excellent restraints, there's airtime, there's some super fun overbanks. 20 plus years later, this roller coaster still rocks. Number 4, Renegade at Valley Fair. This right here is one of my all-time favorite roller coasters. It combines some of the most incredible GCI airtime with some epic twists and turns. Renegade is relentless from start to finish. Let's also mention the unique first drop. This S-curve drop gives you lots of whip, especially in the back, and let's also talk about the genius pacing of this roller coaster. Renegade is elite. Number 3, Hades 360. Speaking of elite, Hades 360 has a great first drop with some good airtime, and the airtime in the underground tunnel is for real. And the underground tunnel by itself is really cool, by the way. It has an inversion, it's got an overbank, the layout is super long. I mean, what more could you ask for? Well, this roller coaster could use some retracking, but overall, Hades 360 is one heck of a ride. Number 2, Maverick at Cedar Point. Just like Renegade, Maverick is relentless from start to finish. From the launch lift hill, to the steep drop, to the intense turns, quick transitions, airtime, inversions, the amazing second launch, to the very whippy stangled dives. I mean, Maverick truly does live up to its name. It is elite in every sense of the word. Number 1, Cosmic Coaster at Valley Fair. I'm just kidding. Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. I mean, was there any doubt that this would be my number 1? It is Steel Vengeance after all. I know it's super cliche to say that Steel Vengeance is your number 1, but it really is one of the best roller coasters on Earth. I mean, I was dreaming of this roller coaster for 3 years, and when I finally rode it, It was everything I imagined, and then some. It has the height, it has the speed, it has the world record for the most airtime on a roller coaster, and you can tell, because every single hill on this roller coaster has exquisite airtime. That's a nice word, exquisite, I like that. Plus, this roller coaster has some very well done inversions. This roller coaster is also a lawn roller coaster, which I definitely like that. In simple terms, Steel Vengeance is a masterpiece. Truly one of the best roller coasters in the entire world. So that is my top 40. I gotta say, I rode some pretty amazing roller coasters this year, and I'm looking forward to 2022 for more great roller coasters. But what do you think of my list? Be sure to let me know down below, and while you're at it, you might as well like the video too. Oh, also, if you like what you see and you just so happen to be brand new around here, go ahead, hit subscribe, it would really help out a lot. But anyways guys, with that, take it easy, and I'll see you next year on North Star Coasters.